One of the main operating advantages of diesel-electric locomotives is that two or more can be coupled together and controlled as one locomotive. This is termed multiple unit operation, which allows all locomotives to be driven from one set of controls. The joining into multiple unit is one of the duties associated with the position of locomotive assistant and is not a complex procedure. In this film you will see how it is carried out correctly. This locomotive will now be joined into multiple unit with another. The locomotive assistant is hand signalling the driver to move towards him by waving his arm inwardly across the body. He now hand signals the driver to stop by raising both arms above his head, making sure the driver has seen and acknowledged the hand signal. This is done by the driver holding his arm out in a horizontal position. The locomotive is stopped approximately 2 meters from the stationary one. The locomotive assistant now undoes all respective air hoses from their dummy couplings, which prevents dust and stones from entering the air hoses. The larger hoses connect the main reservoir and brake pipe. The smaller hoses connect number 3 control pipe and number 4 independent release pipe. All these connections allow the driver to control the application and release of all air brakes. It is important to remember that when blowing out air hoses, that they be held securely to prevent any whipping effect which can cause bodily injury. This process removes any dirt, dust, stones and condensation which may be in the flexible hose coupling, which in turn could cause blockages in the air system. The automatic couplers, after being lined up, will then have one of the auto coupler jaws opened. The locomotive assistant now gives the driver an ease-up signal. When the locomotives are correctly coupled, and this will be known because the lifting pin of the automatic coupler will have dropped down, the locomotive assistant will then give the driver a red light hand signal, ensuring that the driver has seen and acknowledged the hand signal before moving in between the two locomotives. The locomotive assistant now couples together the respective flexible hose couplings. You will see that as each pair of hoses are joined together, their respective cocks are opened fully. The locomotive assistant will now check to see that all cocks are fully opened. The locomotive assistant removes the jumper cable from its storage place in preparation for insertion in the junction box by the driver. The jumper cable must be handled carefully to avoid damage. Once coupling up the flexible hoses has been completed, the driver may now insert the jumper cable. Before inserting each end of the cable, the interior of the junction box is examined to ensure there are no bent pins, which could cause a failure. The driver will now proceed around the locomotives and insert the jumper cable into the other locomotive. The jumper cable forms the electrical connection between the locomotives, enabling multiple unit operation. Once the locomotives have been fully coupled to form the multiple unit, they must be tested to see that the air brakes apply and release, and that all units in the consist power in unison. After the driver has released the brakes, he then instructs the locomotive assistant to walk around the multiple unit, observing that the brakes have released. When testing the locomotives for power, the locomotive assistant will position himself so as he can see that the setback movement is safe, and where the driver can observe any hand signal being given. Once the test is completed, the locomotive assistant will return to the leading locomotive. Certain locomotives are equipped with a bottom lifting pin. Some of these locomotives have an automatic coupler locking pin attached, which is secured to the locomotive by a safety chain. This locking pin must be inserted to ensure the lifting pin cannot be accidentally raised. Very important that whenever a flexible hose coupling is blown out, that it be held securely by one hand to stop any whipping effect which may occur and cause serious bodily injury. Important to remember that any time you are giving a hand signal, to stand well clear of the moving locomotive. Having given the driver a red light hand signal, that you do not move between the two locomotives until he has acknowledged the signal. Remember, stand well clear of the automatic couplings. Safety comes first. Practical instruction on the procedure to multiple unit locomotives will be given to you by an instructor driver.